Oleksandr Usyk, of course, the pound for pound great and undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Forget whether he has 3 or 4 belts right now. He's the undisputed heavyweight champion. Recently made some headlines about fighting Deontay Wilder, actually calling him out as the next guy he wants to fight. Me and you covered Deontay's last fight afterwards against Tyrell Herndon, right? And we both were happy to see Deontay back in the ring, getting a victory. But we said at best he needs a lengthy rebuild against a succession of opponents to even consider fighting at the championship level. Or another scenario, he should just retire because Deontay is clearly not the explosive, snappy, fearsome fighter that he was at his apex years ago. So this comes as a bit of a surprise. All I'm going to say is, no fighter is above the critique. And there's a lot going on right now that Usyk can do whatever he wants. This is the same thing they say about Crawford, same thing they said about Floyd years ago, Canelo. He paid the cost to be the boss, to quote James Brown. But I think this is a bad look, not only because Wilder seems shot, if not shot, badly faded from what he once was. He opted not to defend the title against Joseph Parker, which was a fight boxing fans really wanted to see when Parker had a lot of momentum. Looks like he's not going to fight immediately Parker's conqueror and Fabio Wardley. And then he also, over the months, has shot down ever fighting Moses Italma, which, to be fair to Usyk, Italma isn't exactly chomping at the bit for that opportunity. He knows he's green and very young and raw at 20 years old, as talented as he is. But all that being said, this is unbecoming of the heavyweight champion to call out a badly faded Deontay Wilder, Raheem. A couple years ago, this would have been an exciting tightrope act to see Usyk, like Luis Ortiz did, another southpaw, definitely outbox and piece up Wilder, but the tightrope of will he get lined up for just one right hand? I think the allure of the matchup is not there like it would have been. What do you think, Raheem?
First, big shout out to Boxing King Media. I see a lot of outlets, a lot of pods using that interview and not crediting the interviewer. Even Talk Sport and Simon Jordan ran basically his whole interview, not just this portion, and then slagged him off for his interview style. I thought that was Bush League bullshit. So I like for us to acknowledge where the footage came from.
Say their name again, Raheem, just so I got it right.
Boxing King Media. They
Boxing
did a
King Media.
fucking serious job getting a lot of substantial quotes out of Usyk. And it just is, it's whack that when YouTubers get good content, that everybody uses it and acts like they don't need to credit the source. It's a good source. Well done out there, those guys. With that said, the post-fight analysis of Wilder, I stand by everything that we said then. But for Wilder, from that side of this thing, take the fight. This is this is a golden goose come down from the heavens. You tripped over a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. If we're talking about what the WBC owes to fighters or whether or not it's legitimate and who's got to fight their mandatories and all this stuff, they've given Usyk a voluntary, even though he's been out on injuries, made people wait. There's all these mandatories for all these brothers, and he's still getting voluntary. And listen, everything you said is legit, all right? Making people wait, it's kind of fucked up. Making Parker wait and could have just made his decision early. It sounds like he even rubbed it in the wound a little bit by saying he was interested in the Parker fight now that Parker can't be the fight. It seems like if Parker had waited and not taken the Wardley fight, that he would in fact have gotten his shot. But, I take Usyk at his word, but however, that's almost like salt in the wound at that point. And for him to call out Wilder, while by no metric can you say that this is a difficult fight for Usyk or should be, I do see the homage. I do see him closing the circle on that generation of heavyweights.
Yeah.
I think he respects Wilder. I think he has given Wilder a shot that he personally feels like Wilder deserves and giving himself a shot to just put a period on everybody who ran the era before him. So you can't say there's no ifs, ands, or buts about anything. I did them all. I knocked them all down or beat them all at least in 12 rounds. Wilder earned this. I know it sounds crazy, but he earned this. He made that WBC belt what it was while he was holding it with what at least I regarded as absolute minimum boxing skills, gave us knockout after knockout after knockout. Granted, he wasn't a superstar in America like Joshua was in the United Kingdom, but he held down the WBC. And
10
he was
title
the
defenses.
American WC. How many?
10.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he paid his sanctioning fees and he did the business. And yes, he might be shot. And yes, if he's going to seriously compete at the elite levels, I'm talking about climbing through the ranks. Yeah, he's going to need a lot of reps and to get whatever this new style is with his new coach down. But this one, it might be the godsend that he needs because throw everything out the window, Deontay. Forget about what you're learning. Forget about just go just one night.
One
Go
right
back
hand,
to
one night.
being bomb squad. One night, one right hand. Get your confidence back. Get in there and do what you do best the way that you do it and see if it's enough. Because the one thing that we don't necessarily know about Usyk is if he could take a classic peak Wilder right hand. Well, everything else from Wilder may have been faded or shot. The power is the last to
The
go. And
last
if he
thing
has
to
the
go.
confidence and he can land it, you might see just one classic Deontay Wilder right hand. And are any of us prepared to say that if that lands clean on Usyk, it doesn't ghost him? I'm not prepared to say that. I'm not sure Usyk can take that peak Wilder right hand. It's going to be difficult to land. I know all the stuff, which is why, it's very difficult to bet on Wilder in this fight. But I love him getting the opportunity. It's a voluntary defense. I'm here for it. And I don't even blame Usyk for doing it. Everybody who's in line, they just gotta wait one more. They gotta wait one more guy. I don't see anybody, with the exception of Parker, who's not in line anymore, who's like imminently deserving a title shot, who has just been waiting so long or deserves it so much that this is a huge disrespect to them. None of those guys. The only guy who could say that now is no longer in the running. So let's go.
That was excellent, my co-host. To get technical with it, well, first of all, I'm worried about Deontay's health. He's taken scary knockouts to Zhang, the beatdown from Fury in the third fight. I mean, he's really sustained some heavy punishments, some heavy blows in the heaviest division in the sport. And the problem is when you talk about can Usyk still take a peak Wilder right hand, and you're right. You're right to call out the old adage, the last thing to go is the power. But one thing that was underrated about Deontay Wilder at his prime was his athleticism, and he could cut the gap and explode with that right. He could jump into that right hand and reach you quicker than you thought he could. Being a fighter at 6'7", sometimes below 220, he was an athlete, and his athleticism, because he was a herky jerky, sometimes didn't have the best skills, as we all know, but what's lacking in that last fight, in the last couple of fights from him, is that explosiveness, that speed to accompany the right hand. And as you know, Raheem, another old phrase in boxing is the speed is the power. It's not that Wilder has the heavy hands of a George Foreman or something like that. It was the snap on the shot. And I failed to see any of that snap in his last outing, really his last couple of outings. So I think that ship may have sailed. He can't deliver that one peak right hand to tantalize us in this fight. Um, but another point is one thing I do like about the fight though is Oleksandr Usyk fighting in the United States. That I'm up for that. I am up for that because Usyk has obviously been fighting abroad, fighting in the Middle East, fighting in Europe, and it'd be nice to have the undisputed heavyweight champion fight in the United States. But again, and I'm going to make a joke here. I'm kidding, Raheem, but it's like, are you trying to get him killed? Is there still a grudge here from
Come
till this
on.
day? Address that.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure this fight is happening in the United States if it happens.
I
Well,
gotta check my sources again, but I read somewhere that is where it's being considered, being that it would be a title defense against a notable American.
I would love to see it in the United States. I
Me
haven't
too.
read what you've read. Maybe that's true. I don't know though. I mean, I could see it being maybe in Ukraine, right over the border, somewhere close to Poland. It's where it's safe, of course. But Usyk gets a fight in his home country against a bomber who they will show up and pack the arena or whatever he's in stadium to see. That's what I thought the trick was. Now again, you got a better source than me because this is entirely based on my imagination.
A source I can't
But
even remember right now, so maybe not, but yeah.
but I'm imagining that was his second shoe that was going to drop. Not only does he want to fight Wilder, he wants to fight Wilder in Ukraine, or at least maybe Poland, right on the other side of the border, something where it's kind of like a great fight for the Ukrainian people to see him, if not in the country, at least as close to the country as he was with Dubois,
Yeah, we get
and
to knock out
once
an
we pull out.
American on our soil.
Because what people outside of the boxing community may not know is that Wilder is a kind of huge star outside of America because of those knockouts. And let's just be honest, he's a big black heavyweight American that's knocking everybody out and has a brash about him and a bomb squad shout and the whole thing that they're enamored with around the world. In Africa, they love Wilder more than anybody.
Mhm.
I'm assuming if it were to be taken to the Ukraine, they see this big black American heavyweight knockout artist as a huge draw. And they want Usyk, of course, to win, but they love to see Wilder before he stops fighting for real and for good. So I could see that being a much bigger fight outside the states, sadly, than inside the states. And I just want to also be where the consistency lies when I talked about Barrios and Pacquiao. In the same way, I was happy for Pacquiao to get that shot against Barrios. I'm happy for Wilder to get this shot against Usyk. I don't begrudge these legends or guys who really carried something in the sport for a while and earned one more shot that maybe they're not in line for. But because of who they are, what they did, the opponent not only wants to beat them and share a ring with them, but we want to give them one more chance at glory. This will probably be the last guy to call out Deontay Wilder who has a heavyweight championship, much less three of them. So do I want to take that from him because Wardley's next man up? No, let Wardley fight somebody else or another couple of somebody else's. Let all these guys who have these other title defense, or I'm sorry, who have these other mandatories ready. Wait one more repetition. So one of the last guys who really held up the division in the last round of the champions gets one more shot at glory. That is also part of boxing culture, for honest. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That is, it may not be
You
fair, but to the younger guys, it is part of the tradition.
It is, but I think you're gonna get, in all likelihood, Ali Larry Holmes. Ali getting one last shot at the. I mean, even though Berbick was actually the last fight, but you get my point that it's. But I get. You know what? You're being very convincing. You are. You are romantically. The romanticism in my mind is totally sold right now. But I'm keeping the sober mind of this probably won't end well, but you win. Okay, I want you convinced me enough to entertain this idea. Oh, my thing too, though, and I think you'll intercept what I'm saying with, bro. I've made this point already during this discussion. When you have put in so much work and make yourself a legendary figure, you are allowed to do things that would get other younger fighters who haven't done that critiqued because I feel like because Usyk is a stoic, God-fearing warrior from the Ukraine, that we're not as quick to project him being a diva or cherry picking an opponent as we would with an American fighter or other fighters. And I wanted to point that out, but I guess that point is intercepted already. You already counterpointed it before I even made that. So
Also, it's hard to say that about a guy who beats Fury twice, beats Joshua twice, beats Dubois twice. It's not like if this was the opponent that he chose after the first Tyson Fury fight, let's say, when Wilder was that guy, still was already looking to be shot, and instead of rematching Fury or something, he goes off and wants Wilder. That's not this. I mean, I don't believe he owes anybody, with the exception of Parker, who has now taken himself out of the running so much that he can't do this, and he owes this to himself. Remember when Floyd Mayweather gave Andre Berto his shot at the end?
and this is technically in some ways better than that because Berto was never what Wilder was to the heavyweight division and the welterweight division, right?
Right,
This
but what he
is yeah,
was Mayweather's friend. Well, I
yeah,
think Mayweather wanted to give him one more payday. He
yeah,
went in there and won the fight. It wasn't like it was a fix or anything like that. And Berto did the best he could do. But we all knew it was a mismatch, not to be
yeah.
disrespectful, but we all knew that he was a major underdog.
Wouldn't have been
And
when Berto was in his prime to give Berto his props, right? But
exactly. And
just like
so
this, right?
just like this, this happens, and you're right. Berto wasn't quite the legend that Wilder is, or done what he's done. But at the end, champions can throw a fighter they respect, a fighter that they like, a fighter that they just always wanted to face, somebody they want on their record, a bone, and that's what Usyk has done. I'm here for it, bro. I will go to Ukraine to watch it, but I'd be happier to go to Alabama.
Me too. So you win.